All right, welcome to our next episode of my Leveraging Your Voice podcast. And you can see we have another new special guest with us. Why don't you just tell everybody who you are, your name and where you're from, what's your state and city, all that sort of thing.
All right, I'm Dr. Jermaine Ware. I'm a holistic chiropractor, a holistic health coach. I'm in Indianapolis, Indiana.
Awesome. Now, I have to say, as the very first thing that I've learned about you that makes me smile is you do a podcast, which we'll talk about in a little bit, with enemy fighters on the podcast. I got to learn more about that when we get there, okay?
That sounds good.
Because that's a little crazy to me, but it's probably fun.
It is. It is.
All right. So talk to us a little bit. First off, welcome. I'm so glad you're here with us.
And thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. It's fun to have people on the podcast and to always meet new people and learn what they do. And the first thing I want to do is just separate out. I know you have three things I think we're going to talk about. But start with your chiropractic business. Where'd you go to school and what kind of chiropractic do you do? And talk to us a little bit about that part of your practice.
Okay. I went to Logan Chiropractic College. Since then, they've renamed it. I think they call it Logan University now. Mm-hmm. So I went there. When I finished there, I started doing the style of chiropractic that's a little different. I use a lot of what's drop table or Thompson technique, but I also use a lot of what's called torque release. So it's more of like a neurological style of chiropractic. So neurologic base, and we do a lot of movement, kind of pattern movement type chiropractic. So adjusting people in motion and different things. And that came about because of the type of client that I work with.
Okay, what type of client is it that you work with?
Well, so most of my clients are active individuals, whether they are athletes from, little league all the way up to professional. I used to be the chiropractor for one of the local schools here, the colleges. I used to be their chiropractor. Had a couple of professional athletes that would circle through every year when they were around. And I do a lot of work with track and field athletes.
Awesome. I have had a lot of chiropractors on, and what amazes me is that all of them have unique services that they provide. It's all chiropractic, but they all have their own little way that they do it that's different than everyone else, which I love, but I never really did realize that there were so many differences in how to do this science and art of chiropractic.
Well, yeah, that's the art part of it, right? It's everybody gets to put their little touch on it and make it theirs and make it something that really fits what they're after and what they do.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's cool. All right, so that's your chiropractic business. And where are you located?
Where in Indianapolis?
Yeah.
I'm in the the northeastern corner. It's Castleton area. So I'm in between like Carmel, Fishers, Lawrence, and I'm like that northeastern corner of Indianapolis.
And if people are watching and say, hey, I'm gonna go to his website and sign up, where would they go?
They would go to drjware.com. So it's drjware.com.
Awesome. All right, and we'll include that with this video, we'll include that in the comments or in the post or whatever it is, so people will have access to that. So that's Dr. Ware. And now you want to talk a little bit too about another thing that you started, which is holistic health coaching. What is it?
Right. Yeah. So I've written a couple books. One of those books was Elements for Optimal Health, where I was trying to get people to understand that it's a much bigger picture than just chiropractic in itself. And so what I ended up doing with that is I was working with a couple clients, and they were telling me about some other issues they were having. Primarily losing weight was a big one for some people. A couple people was hypertension. And so what I ended up doing was kind of creating a program for them and just letting them kind of execute on the program. And before I knew it, I was into a whole different thing with the holistic health coaching. I had one lady who she had lost so much weight like she was up in front of her church and she was doing a bunch of like sign language stuff. And so I guess the way she was losing weight, it was people from her church just coming like, I want to give me what you gave her type of thing. And so that began my transition into the holistic health coaching. And I used to have people who were like drivers who would need, have hypertension issues, and they would come see me before it was time for them to get retested and have all those things tested again to renew their license. And it all worked out, and they were ecstatic about the response that things, that we got. And so that's kind of where I got into those
So
things.
it's something that happened almost organically.
It was. And it wasn't something I was really intending on. It was just the things that I knew. And when you're inundated in this type of world in terms of chiropractic and holistic living and the lifestyle and wellness and all that, you think everybody knows what you know. Well, they don't know what you know, and what you know is second nature. It's like new news to a lot of people. And so I didn't really think about it in terms of people don't know this stuff. I was just like sharing something that I thought was common knowledge and sharing a different way to put it together. And I mean, these people, they've had some tremendous results.
Well, I'm glad you realize that, because most people don't know these things, and you sharing them is an important thing. Now, you're a billboard. What's your billboard there on your shirt?
Well, that's the logo for the hero companies, right? So there's the Hero Sports and Family Chiropractic, which is the brick and mortar. There's the Hero Functional Institute, which is the virtual stuff where I do the health coaching. And then there's another branch which my cousin runs as Hero Clothing. And so we kind of pulled it all together.
Oh, wow.
But what's Hero isn't, what's that?
What's Hero mean?
Oh, Hero is an acronym that stands for helping everyone reach optimal health.
I like that. And your first book is titled?
Elements for Optimal Health.
I like it. And what's the second book?
The second book is called The Blood Pressure Blueprint, or The Blood Pressure Playbook.
And when did that come out? That was recent, right?
That was a recent one that just came out December of 24. Okay. So the Blood Pressure Playbook. The thing about my books is that they're relatively easy to read. I call them plane ride books because I pack all the information in, and so there's not a lot of fluff there. It's just information and action steps, and that's kind of how my style of writing is.
That's awesome. So when you're old and gray, you're going to have like 100 books you've written.
I might.
Awesome. All right. So that's two things that you do, but you also do a third thing. And this is the funny one to me, where you have the folks from what should be competing schools on with you. So talk to us a little bit about your podcast, because now this is going to step a little bit outside of the hero thing, and this is sort of separate from that. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I have a separate venture. It's called the In Top Times podcast. And so what the podcast is about, it's about track and field. So myself, I ran at IU, at Indiana University. I played football there. And then my co-host, she ran at Purdue. And so the funny part about it is, yeah, she's from Ohio and I'm from Illinois. So it's like one of those things.
Yeah.
So our passion is, track and field, helping young athletes kind of really grow and become the best that they can be, especially in the world of track and field. And so what we've done is we created this podcast where we interview a lot of the top kids in the state of Indiana for now. And we'll probably eventually venture off into other states. But for right now, we're focusing on Indiana, pulling that top talent together, allowing coaches and recruiters to kind of get to know these kids by asking them some different questions, And then we are also putting together some, we have a couple of events coming up. One is a track meet. It's a Top Times track meet where we're going to pull together a bunch of kids one will be from Ohio, Illinois, Indiana, and then one would be just like the top 24 athletes in different events, in each event. So the top 24 in each event will come and compete, and then we'll do, big stuff for them. Have a good time. It'll be a nice event.
That's kind of cool. So you invite the kids onto the podcast and interview them.
Right. We invite kids, we invite coaches, and anybody that can be a resource for them to kind of help them out. So we've interviewed a young lady who works with the NCAA, really kind of helping these kids help the parents to shape their futures in terms of what they need to do when. I do have another book about that I've written.
Oh, I got to hear it. Tell us. So that's 3. I told
Yeah,
you you're
that's
on your
3.
way to 100.
It's the parents' blueprint for athletic scholarships. So we have that, as a resource for them. We've had people who are like mindset coaches, coaches who kind of help them with other different things involved in track and field. So it's like it's really a big community where we wanted to come and wrap our arms around track and field, because we feel like it doesn't get a lot of love in this country. So we're wrapping our arms around track and field and promoting it and pushing those kids up to the forefront so people know who they are. I mean, we've interviewed one young lady. She's like the #1 high jumper in the country. There's another kid who's probably the top 3 in his grade, in his event. So we have a lot of kids like that. Another kid who's #1 in the country in high jump. So on the boys' side, so we've had them all on the podcast.
They got to love coming on. That's an exciting event for them.
Oh yeah.
That's cool. Now, what kind of track? What did you run in college?
I was a 100, 200, 400 meter runner.
Okay.
My primary sport though was football, where I played defensive back.
Okay.
So when they let us go, we could go over and do
defensive back. Tell me where that's at.
So that's on the defensive side of the ball. I'm the opposite of the guys on the receiver. So the receiver's trying to catch the ball. I'm trying to keep them away from the ball.
So you're one of those guys like interfering with them all the time and sometimes being called for interference.
Yeah, something like that.
You probably think of it differently.
Right. I'm just holding them up. I'm doing my job.
Right. That's great. So you played Big Ten football.
Correct.
That's a hard business.
What's that?
That's a hard business, Big Ten football.
It is a rough business. But unfortunately, I had an older brother that came before me. So he kind of schooled me to that business. So I had a heads up. He played over at Michigan. So he was there with Desmond Howard and Elvis Grbac and all those guys.
All right.
So the funny story is he's the guy. Have you ever watched that Desmond Howard Heisman pose?
Mm-hmm.
My brother's the guy standing right behind him.
Is that right?
Yeah, he escorted him down there on that touchdown.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. So he has that picture and everybody says, "Oh, you like Desmond Howard?" No, that's me right there.
Right.
Yeah. I like that. All right. And talk to us about what else that you want to share with us about your businesses, about your coaching, about track and field.
Well, the business, like in terms of my health coaching, that's really one of the things I'm really passionate about right now. It's more important to, well, it's not more important, but it's really important to me in a sense of, like, I have family members who struggle with hypertension. I know what that leads to. A lot of times people don't really understand that the hypertension issue is what's causing people to be on dialysis. Mm-hmm. And they don't understand sometimes that the blood sugar issue is what's causing them, they have the neuropathy and they have the vision issues and a lot of other things in terms of, brain fog and that type of stuff. And then the weight gain, of course, is costing in all sorts of areas. So that's where I focus a lot of my health coaching at. We're looking at basically helping people heal their body and get healthy. And oftentimes the side effect of that is their blood pressure comes down, mm-hmm. their blood sugars normalize, and their A1Cs drop, and then their weight, they lose the weight. So they really become more fit individuals. And by doing that, a lot of times they have the clarity, they're thinking better, they're doing better, and they're able to excel in life. Like I just spoke with one of my clients the other day, and she's telling me about, what's that?
They're getting a better mental picture too of themselves as they do those
things. They are. Yeah. And that's what I was saying. The client I just spoke to, we were talking to, her program, and she was talking about how being in my program and working with me, she has a whole new respect for herself. And it's like, I think I need to quit my job because they don't respect me the way I respect me. And I was like, wow, that's something I didn't anticipate, So it's like things like that. And I had another young lady who's, has so much energy. She has a younger kid and she's lost like 45, 50 pounds. And now they're going to the gym together. They're working out. And she's just enjoying life a little bit better.
Changes people's lives when they start to do things to help themselves.
Exactly. And then when they have a different mindset about how to approach things, they do things way different, and mm-hmm. that's like, one of the major benefits, I
Now,
think.
you don't make them run track and field to lose weight, do you?
Oh no, nothing like that. Although I should.
Yeah,
But
you should connect them. Now,
yeah.
how, if somebody's listening and they say, hey, I want to get involved in the health coaching that you're doing, where would they go for that?
They can find me on Instagram. My handle on Instagram is at @dr.j.ware. They can get there and they can, follow me and send me a message. They can also email me. It's drjware@hero with the HEROH.com. Either one of those is a good way to get in touch with me to start going from that direction. And the beauty of that is you can be anywhere across the country, the world, and I can help you out there.
So that coaching isn't necessarily in person, it's virtual.
Correct. Yes.
Beautiful. And is that one-on-one coaching or is it group coaching that you do for that?
It's a combo. So we do a little bit. They have different sessions where they're one-on-one. We all start out one-on-one. There's more learning that actually happens in a group because you can learn from each other. You can ask questions and other people in the group can give you, different feedback from it, and they can tell you their struggle and you can learn from them. And so I like the group aspect, but then we also have the one-on-one. We do some different things in terms of seeing where you are, and that's more private information, like if we do blood work and stuff like that. So that would be one-on-one, of course. And then we put together a plan for that person, but we have group meetings.
That's awesome. I think that's a great service, one that's desperately needed. And when people join, they immediately they don't have to wait 6 months. They immediately start to change and gain benefits.
Oh yeah. Well, because we have to redirect how they're thinking about this. Mm-hmm. And so once we get going there, we're in a new place.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right. All right. Well, last words, anything that you want to share with us in terms of, hey, I want to leave you with a final thought. I always ask people this, and I always wonder, I should have warned them that I'm going to ask them that because I just throw it at them. But any last words or final thoughts that you want to share?
Well, one of the things that my dad used to always say is that whatever your mind can see and believe, it can achieve. And so that is something I have been teaching all the athletes I work with for a long time, and all the people that I help coach, is that they always have to see themselves in that position before they can, ever actually attain it. So if you can see it and then really, really believe it, then it's a formality to achieve that.
That's great. It's a great way to end our session today. A great thought to get people thinking about. I want to thank you, Dr. Ware, for joining us. It's been great. I love all the work you're doing. It sounds like, my observation is, it's not even work for you. It sounds like it's fun.
You're correct. I appreciate you being on, and it is fun for me. It's not work. I don't consider myself ever going to work, whether I'm going to the clinic or coaching somebody virtually. It's not work for me.
That's
I'm
awesome.
really enjoying myself.
I did say, hey, don't invite me on your track and field thing because I can't help. I can't run track and field. So I'm not going to be able to do anything that's going to help anyone in your target audience. So
you may have a wise word for them. You never know.
You never know. Hey, maybe my wise word, don't run so slow. Or the other one I like, well, you should go faster. How's that for helpful advice?
Yeah. But not in every case should you go faster, though.
Right.
Some you just have to slow down and execute.
That's right. That's right. All right, folks. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you, Dr. Ware, for joining us. It's been a pleasure having you on. I got to believe anybody who's a client of yours thinks it's a pleasure coming to see you because you're so happy and smiling, and you can't help but get a good vibe being in your presence, which I think is awesome. So I want to thank you for sharing that good vibe with us. And folks, as always, you can learn more about what I do over at my website, prvocalcoaching.com. I help people learn to speak with confidence in just 8 weeks. It's a little tagline that we use. And appreciate you all coming to these episodes and watching the Leveraging Your Voice podcast. And until next time, bye for now.